invert that is rolled on a pair of dice by the race 3 winner. So that will flip the script here by the end of the weekend. Dominici plunges down the hill again, that 4-story drop and into rainy curves. Such a fast sequence here. 200 treadwear tires. Love this car. Supercharged wide body Del Sol. Jonathan Lugod, another California competitor, with Shaftworks on the side of the car. This car has done basically the entire schedule with us this year, alongside Hilo and Daniel Geraldo in a Lexus IS that's out there as well. But Lugod had an incident at Midwest Festival where he went off track and basically tore the whole front end and splitter off of it and had to repair that, set him back a little bit. But good to have him back out here.
Yeah, I mean, great to see a Del Sol as well. Just not a car that you immediately line up with track racing, but something a little bit different, and it has a different balance as well, although, you know, a lot of heritage coming through with the Civic parts and everything else that you can swap into it. So all the availability and just something that looks a little bit different.
Lugod working his way down into turn 11 on the brakes, and that short wheelbase, that will help a lot in corners like turn 11 where you just have to get the thing rotated. So up onto the front straightaway, letting that supercharger whine. Oscar Jackson in the 469, that's a Scion FRS, climbing up through the gears as well. I saw him jump up a little bit closer to the top 10. Lugod no pickup that time, no pickup from Markert either. Then down into the Andretti hairpin, and this is a really critical sequence for when we get the green flag later today in race 1. You can go 3-4 wide into that corner. It's rare that you can come out that way, so you got to filter down somehow.
Yeah, and getting the inside line may not always be the best option, because if somebody on the midline's got just a little bit more pace coming through it, you can get closed off pretty quick going into the rest of the sequence. So it'll be interesting as we get that race started. Hopefully, well, a bit later on today.
And for some of the drivers in IBOC GLTC that are from California, they've spent most of the year traveling across the country to race with us. But one of the other home drivers that's here, and one of the most unique cars on the racetrack, it is a wide-body supercharged Honda Del Sol. And once again, Jonathan caught up with Jonathan to chat about his unique Del Sol.
And Lugod, right? Yeah. Jonathan Lugod, another one of the local California guys from Southern California, making the drive up the coast here to Monterey. Any home field advantage being one of the local boys here?
Not quite. So this is my 4th time here. So even though I'm from SoCal, I don't really venture up here all too much. But it's a good track, and it's good for everyone here to watch the racing. It's a good facility.
I know still a little bit of a drive for you, but not quite as much as trying to go to some of the other tracks in the Midwest. You just a couple hours up the coast. Was that a little bit nicer for you, just being at a home event?
Yeah, I mean, we went out to the Midwest, ran into some issues, ended up coming home a little early, got the car sorted for this event, and you know, it's nice to be having the Gridlife event here at home.
And quickly, I got to ask you about the car. Sure. You're in a Del Sol. This is pretty sweet. Tell me why you picked this and how it got here.
I kind of stumbled across it. So my buddy Oscar Jackson from Jackson Racing, he had a guy that had a Del Sol sitting in the back of his yard, essentially. It's an old SCCA car. So I grabbed that, built into a race car, cracked the chassis, and I was in a kind of a crossroads of, should I build another Del Sol or get a Civic or Integra? And Oscar's like, dude, no one's going to remember a Civic or Integra. Del Sol is pretty rare as it is, let alone a race car Del Sol, so just keep going with that. And so that's what we ended up with.
Well, I'm glad you did. It's the only Del Sol here, and representing not only California, but a pretty rare Honda as well.
Thank you again, Jonathan, and Jonathan Lugod on the grid here for our second race of the weekend for our multi-class format with Gridlife GT. On the front row of the GT race, it's Hans Horpedal and Max Lasovsky. Anthony Scafuto and Rob Tuchovsky sharing that second row of the GT category. Then it will be Charles Spence and Chris DeLucia. If he was going to be on the grid, he will not be because of the engine failure. And Stephen Bright and then Colin King DQ'd for technical compliance after race 1. He starts 8th.
Yeah, and kicking things off for GLTC, Justin Ross and Matan Rosenberg taking 1 and 2 in the front row. Joe Mugen and Michael Hilo taking that second row, 3rd and 4th, and then moving things into Tony Rodriguez, Abdul Osmani on the 3rd row, and for our 4th, Anthony Zwane and Anthony Domenti. A little bit of battle of the Tonys there for that row, and row 5, Jason Lapid and Peter Zhang.
Then Asbath Muhammad rolls off 11th alongside that Del Sol, Jonathan Lugod in the number 94, followed by Jarek Javier and Daniel Geraldo in the number 440 Lexus IS. Then it's Stephen Ellis in a beautiful Hakone green Toyota 86, Devin Markert in an S2000 in the 63. Mark Sedang starts in 17th place in the number 353. Then Josh Fleur in the Subaru. Adam Billings in 19th in the number 408. Oscar Jackson in the 469. Then Rich Leon, Christopher Rosales in the 997. That's that beautiful yellow RX-7 two-rotor. And John Friesen will bring up the rear of the field. That car, I think, will not make the grid, though, because of that contact at the tail end of race number 1.
Right. Yeah, good call on that one. So looks like drivers, though, running through a bit of our oil dry up, trying to get that flipped up and cleaned up on the track. So drivers through that section, thank you for taking care of that for us. Do our best to absolutely keep it clean, but we will take a dusty track over an oily track any day of the week.
Yeah, so big field here again. We've got about 30 cars combined for our multi-class racing. Once again, if you're new to the series here, we typically run these as separate races. So what we're going to do is on the timing and scoring pylon on the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to see purple numbers. Those are the Gridlife GT cars that are running about 8.9 pounds per horsepower. And then the GLTC cars are going to be in red. Those are about 12.5 to 1 horsepower, pounds per horsepower. Of course, Eibach, the title sponsor for the GLTC series, the season champion, gets a trip to visit the Eibach factory in Germany at the tail end of the season to celebrate their 75th anniversary. That also will potentially include a drive around the Nordschleife.
That is incredible. Wow. I mean, even if it doesn't, you're already there. You know, when in Germany,
Exactly.
you know where you're going to be going, that's for sure.
Yep. All right, let's do it again. 15 minutes go up on the board, and it's going to be the Gridlife GT cars. 2 Corvettes on the front row. Lasovsky versus Hans Horpedal, and then an air-cooled Porsche in row number 2. I love the variety that we're seeing here this weekend. And green flag, it looks like Colin King immediately to the inside. You can go on green there. No need to wait in line, but throttling up, making quick work of a couple of cars there. Scafuto has no defense for him into turn 2.
Yeah, Colin King making a very brave dive, moving himself up from 8th to 3rd, passing 5 drivers on that run. That is nuts, and now we get into the GLTC race as they get that green and the grid separating immediately.
Bunch of cars caught sleeping there. We're 3 wide already. Peter Zhang on the outside. They just had to replace a shock. One of the BMWs did not go, and it creates a stack up that Azimuth Muhammad gets stuck in behind, but into turn 1, it's Rosenberg on the outside of the 272 of Ross.
Yeah, pretty clean as our 2 competitors going head-to-head, coming all the way through that section. It looked like Ross kept that lead as we flip back into our GLGT, and a little bit of hesitation through turn 5. Now we get the car starting to head up towards the hill.
Yeah, there's the Lotus Spence. That's such a unique car here, following the anti-Lotus Chevrolet Camaro just up the road from it. And of course, Stephen Bright in that number 363 350Z. The Eibach GLTC cars now up at turn 5. Ross leads Rosenberg, so was able to complete that pass as we head up the hill.
Yes, we'll swap back to what that pack is looking like, just catching the tail end of that with our Subaru following up a little bit later on, and we're getting a few passes pretty early on in this track and doing that wide on 6. Not an advisable spot to do it, and isn't able to really hold on to it, and has to fall back behind the competitor.
Yeah, down into the corkscrew now. Just didn't get a great start. And whoa, this is getting dicey. McGuigan in the silver M3, then Hilo, and then the 19 of Osmani side by side here. You can't do that very well, but they managed to somehow do that without banging doors. Oh, through the oil dry there. That's slippery.
Able to hang on to it though, and get a bit of a nose up on a fellow BMW, so that's going to be tough when you get competitors that close to each other. We see a little bit more oil dry going up into the air, as now we're getting through our first laps when it comes to the GLTC grouping.
And so across the stripe here, we should see Ross take over the top spot. There he is by 0.7 of a second over Matan Rosenberg. McGuigan 3rd, then Hilo, and Jason Lapid in the 424. Cool to see that 350Z up there in the top 5.
Yeah, starting to make his way up there, finding a bit of an own. Not the race he would have wanted a little bit earlier on, but now starting to stack up pretty quick, as we can see everyone jockeying for position through the hairpin. Maybe not as bold as they were on that first lap, being a little bit more, little more hesitant as we come through, now that we got the first lap or 2 under our belt.
The blue and white M3 is Wayne attacking Osmani there into turn 4. And then already Stephen Bright getting bright lights flashed at him there, because Justin Ross does not want to spend any time behind these cars. He's going to swing to the right. He's got Rosenberg chasing him down. Pressure's on.
Yeah, he talked about that in the interview, and now he's looking for it. So that Z now stepping back, allowing him to get by, and Ross getting the flashes on very, very early, letting him know, hey, I'm in the lead of my race. Let me continue to go through, and respectfully got that decision for him.
Yeah, that was actually pretty savvy driving there to just stay to the left, let those drivers go on by down the crest. He's trying to not only beat Rosenberg, but pick up a weekend title. If you win 3 races, it's pretty hard to give it away. A nice line there, and look at him just dispatching Rosenberg pretty well.
Yeah, this is just a continuance of what we saw in the previous race, where Ross able to get out front, get really comfortable. He is going to have to fight through a couple of the back markers when it comes to the GT side of things, but I think he's got a little bit of time before he's going to have to worry about that again. Now getting onto the front straight, and we know that BMW is able to get the dig, although the Corvettes do quite good, so this might be a shot for Rosenberg to be able to kind of close up some of that gap before we get into the real hard braking into 2. That kink doesn't play too much of a role here. If anything, it just gets drivers into a decent spot to be able to defend a little bit.
Oh,
into
look
that
at
big
Lampett.
dive.
Whoa, Jason Lampett really laying on the brakes to the inside of Michael Hilo. Does he get it stopped? Barely. And he's through now to make that 4th place past the LS 350Z. And then here comes right behind him, that's Rodriguez in the 120. Trouble for Lasovsky. That's one of our Gridlife GT competitors, and he's in the beach.
That's no good. That is no good. He is completely beached up, so we are going to be.
He
can
almost
he do
got
it?
it.
That's it. That's what we want. Get the rocking going.
Nicely
Great
done.
job.
Yep, and he's at turn 5, but he is pointed the right direction now and driving away. Great work there by Lasovsky. And now we've brought, look at this battle for 4th place in IBOC GLTC. This is great stuff. 2 350Zs and an M3.
Yeah, we got the Flying Octopus out front doing a great job of on that late break that started last week, and able to hold on to it. I didn't think he'd be able to do that through the Andretti hairpin, but I mean, the next question is going to be how much brake pad is left on that car after a dive like that. So have to let that cool down just a little bit. Corkscrew so far.
And now Michael Hilo feeling some more pressure, and a couple of those M3s stacking up behind him, including Abdul Azman. Look at that beautiful drone shot from Max there, and how the track flattens out on the run into turn 11.
Yeah, and that's going to be a compression all to its own as you come through. Not as aggressive as a few spots in that track, but now we get our Fire Labs data out, and look at this King with that top speed, 129.7, and minimal speed of 38.2, so not quite as quick through the slower sections of this track, and that might allow Horpethal to be able to regain that with a few miles an hour faster through the tight sections.
Yeah, and Colin King, again, trying to close back in. He was started 8th in this field. Now he's 3.3 seconds back, trying to run down the race leader. There he is, and there's the differential between them. And 2 C5 Corvettes, different build strategies here, and you know, there was a great little bit of sportsmanship between these cars. Colin King had an issue in qualifying and had to run and go to the store to grab a part. He got stuck in traffic coming back in, so Hans Horpedal drove out there on his mini bike to go pick him up so he could make the race earlier today.
Way.
So maybe Hans is going to regret that in a little while, because Colin King's tracking him down.
Yeah, not doing too bad, but a little bit sketchy coming through the exit of the Corkscrew, getting a bit unsettled. So we know that he can push the pace. We've already seen him move very quickly up through the field, up into 2nd after starting at the back of the pack and doing a great job of that as we flip over to Ross now, who once again just trying to extend out that lead and get into a comfortable spot, maybe get a few back markers in between him and his competitor of Rosenberg to be able to continue to extend that gap. But for right now, Ross just all over the front of this track.
Yeah, and just trying to extend his gap over Matan Rosenberg. It's not a safe gap by any stretch, and they're actually running towards the back of Tushkovsky in that air-cooled Porsche 911. So another bit of track race. This is that for him. That data's from last session, but Horpedal slower than Colin King in sectors 1 and 3. So that's notable, and actually a hair slower in sector 2. So King's quicker everywhere right now, and that means he's coming. He's have that gap to minus 1.7 seconds now from 3.3 back.
Yeah, it won't take long before he's within a few tenths and just absolutely breathing down the necks of Horpedal, who's got to keep his composure through the rest of this. We're a few minutes in. We've got a couple of laps under our belt, but about the halfway mark. So lots of racing still to go, and we'll see how that ends up playing. Look at Ross already on the lights. Just let me through. Please let me through. You don't know what I'm dealing with right now. Going real wide through that section. We'll see if he can get that passed out on the Porsche as they come up over the crest.
Yeah, he's feeling the pressure right now. Again, trying to run away from a driver who has won a GLTC championship and is trying to win another. He's really going to try to get by this Porsche, but he's not going to. This is great for Rosenberg.
Yeah, this is what Rosenberg would hope. So as they come through the Corkscrew, back on the flashers, that left hand's getting a lot of work, and now he gets that lane to be able to blow by, and we'll see if the Porsche slides back in behind him, which it looks like he does, which is absolutely terrible for Rosenberg, who now has to fight through the exact same traffic that he saw his competitor go through.
Oh, Oscar Jackson is slow on the run up to the corkscrew. Not sure if he's nursing an issue, but looks like Jonathan Lugod got on by. Great looking Del Sol, little wiggle there on the run down the hill. He's up to 13th place, he was chasing Oscar Jackson, but Jackson now dropping to P13.
Yeah, getting a little bit more fresh here. Now he can stretch his legs just a little bit and try and make up some more time and move up some of the spots as now we get back into those top speeds. So we see from the previous session, Lucia still with that crazy top speed through that section, but Horpenthal sitting at just shy of 81 miles an hour and about a mile an hour slower as King. So that's just through that spot. We know King can make it up in some other spots in the track, notably 11 is dig out of there.
Yeah, Colin King, again, that car is a straight line weapon, but just a mile an hour difference. It's pretty close. And as they track up towards the corkscrew, one of the Eibach GLTC cars is going to get between them here, and it's going to hold up King just a little bit as they run down the hill.
I wasn't sure what was going to happen there. It looked like King wanted to make that dive before the corkscrew, but wasn't able to, as now Horpenthal having to, getting the opportunity to continue that gap. But it looks like King did get that pass coming out of the exit from the corkscrew, and this is the spot where he's really going to make up that time. He's going into turn 11. You'll see he'll close up the gap pretty quick and should get a great launch from the exit going pretty wide, and there it is. And now he'll try and shoot down and try and get that slipstream behind him and get as close as he possibly can going into the Andretti hairpin.
Well, again, I saw Colin King be so aggressive on the brakes, and because these cars are carrying Firelinks, we can have a look at their braking performance and see the difference between them. Look at this. Well, it doesn't look like we had lap 6 just yet. I wonder if we could try lap 5 and see if there we go. How about braking force? Look at Colin King. 0.3 Gs more than Hans Horpenthal, and that's the difference you're seeing down into turn 11.
And that's pretty substantial. Look at King getting a little bit squirrely coming out of the exit of that corner. We can tell what he is fighting for with this car. He's pushing this to the absolute limit to try and keep up with Horpenthal, who's very sturdy out front. I'm not seeing any real mistakes from him. He's just so tidy throughout this entire lap, and King, as the time starts to tick down, is going to get a little bit more desperate, knowing that his chance to get this pass done is slowly waning away as the seconds tick down.
Well, they're about to put Stephen Bright a lap down, another GT competitor. Set the brake pads against the rotors there. They call that brake pad knockback. And if you ride the rumble strips, it actually shakes. There's a lot of flex in this. Oh, he's going to get held up here. Here comes King, splitting him 3 wide, and they're side by side. King takes the lead away.
Wow, what an opportunity there is your competitor getting through that back marker, and Horpenthal, he's going to have some feelings about that situation. We have to have the cameras in the pits when he clocks up there, because for King, though, what a bold pass. Saw an opportunity and absolutely went for it. Not many drivers would have the merit to be able to do something like that.
No, that was certainly frustrating. Stephen Bright couldn't hit the disappear button there, but it looked like he tried to get out of the way, and generally it's just easier if you just keep on the racing line rather than try to get out of the way. It's just hard to disappear. Look at King on the brakes. He's sideways on the binders trying to get that thing stopped. He's putting so much more energy.
He was able to punch through the air quite well with this chassis, and for Horpenthal now, he's got to be a little bit more aggressive, and he is. Look at the exit from that. That is not something we've seen until this lap, and this is where we start to find the panic go in, the heartbeat goes up, the palms get a little bit sweaty, and you start driving in ways that may not be the most proper, but desperation comes in, and you're going to start trying for things that you haven't done before, because now we're fighting through a couple more back markers at Subaru.
Taketh away. Let's see if Hans Horpenthal can close in on the run up to the corkscrew here. An Integra on the right, and they're going to stay well out of the way here as we head up into that 4-story drop. Horpenthal got to trust those brakes a little more. He had issues with them at Lime Rock, but he's right on top of Colin King as they head down the hill.
Yeah, King looking now out front, very sturdy in that lead spot. So for Horpenthal, he's going to have to try something a little bit desperate. And it's crazy how quick the roles swap and the driving swaps. King very comfortable out front, kind of used to being in that spot, but is no stranger to fighting from the back of the pack as we check back in on Ross, who's just continuing to extend that gap, although on that last lap only sitting 2.5 seconds. So he's definitely using those flashers at every chance he's got to make sure he can extend the gap out at any point in time. Rosenberg doing a good job of keeping into it, but getting a little crazy there under braking.
This will be the last lap. They're coming to the white for the Eibach GLTC cars. 1.5 seconds between these two, just a 10th between 4 races, but I don't think he realized Justin Ross was going to be quite this good, and he's got a long way to make up in the next 2.2 miles.
Yeah, that is going to be a tough go. Your only hope, I think, for right now is that Ross does something a little out of character and takes a corner a bit wide, or gets a little squirrely coming out of potentially out of 2, but I can't see that happening. Ross is just so tidy, got out front, just locked in, and for Rosenberg, not able to find the pace. Hoping to make it up in the straightaways, but just never really came to fruition on these laps.
Yeah, he's trying everything he can. See See Tushkovsky with the lap pickup there, and here's your lead battle in Gridlife GT. Hans Horpedal is going to be hot under the helmet right now, clawing his way up the hill, trying to close in. See, checking the brakes because he's going to lean on him into the corkscrew.
Yeah, this is kind of it for him. He's got a few corners left to really make that dive, but really King is extending that lead at every opportunity. There's one back marker they might have to fight through here, but there's still a bit of a gap, so maybe King will start to use that to his advantage, try and get the pass in really quick. Horpedal just doesn't look like he's within striking position, though.
Colin King from the back of the field got a great launch on the start. Last corner here, coming to the checkered flag. It was a 3-wide pass in traffic, and Colin King from 8th to 1st wins Gridlife GT race number 2 over Hans Horpedal by just a couple tenths of a second. It should be Scafuto and the Camaro in 3rd place. All the while in Eibach GLTC down the corkscrew, Justin Ross using his track knowledge well.
Yeah, it has been all Ross this entire race once again, and for Rosenberg, it's kind of back to the drawing board to understand what he's able to do to take down this BMW, because it looks so sturdy. There's no spot on this track that I feel like he's uncomfortable, and he just picks up time in every single sector. So yeah, for Rosenberg, this is a hard thing when you get back to the pits and try and figure out where you're able to make up that time and what you're able to do. So for right now, for Ross, congratulations on another incredible one, and really flashing those high beams one more time.
2 for 2, despite a little bit of traffic, gets it done. Congratulations to Justin Ross. Baton Rosenberg, 2nd place. And Joe McGuigan, another podium for him. Jason Lappin, a very strong result in 4th place for the Nissan 350Z. Where did Hilo end up? He dropped down the order, looks like to about 8th place there on the final lap of asking. That was not what he was hoping for.
No, not at all. A decent start, but later on in the run just seemed to fall back through the pack, and there it is. Wow, King, what a storybook race that he's got. Maybe driving a little bit angry and making some dives that a lot of drivers just wouldn't take a risk on.
That was wild, wasn't it? Let's have a look here at our race results for Gridlife GT. It was Colin King that got it done over Hans Horpedal. Great battle between them two. And how about Charles Spence in the Lotus P3? Anthony Scafuto actually dropped behind him right there at the end. So Spence with a last lap pass in the number 9 Lotus. Max Lasovsky with that recovery after the spin, and Rob Tushkovsky in the number 380-911.
Yeah, I wonder if there's some sort of incident that caused that, because they're pretty far back. But now we get into the GT side of things, TC side of things. Justin Ross, I mean, just all him, and for Rosenberg, as we said, back to it. But Joe McGuigan, great job on that one, and Jason Lappin, another amazing run, and for Tony Rodriguez, topping out your top 5.
Yeah, and Anthony Zwane in that 138 charging forward. Abdul Osmani in the bright green BMW M3. Green cars are typically bad luck. He's had a nice weekend so far. Hilo, 8th place after dropping back from the start. Anthony Dominici and Peter Zhang with that new coilover, P10. Jonathan Liu got up to 11th place. Oscar Jackson dropped down the order a little bit. Then Christopher Rosales, Eric Avier, Daniel Geraldo, Sergio Orestes, Asmath Muhammad, Josh Fleur, Mark Sedang, and Devin Markert. The rest of your top 20.
I had no idea green cars were bad luck.
That is an old racing superstition, and looks like Colin King's going to roll on through. Let's have a look here at the highlights from Gridlife GT. And